Hey everyone, I know that StatCrunch is going to be a new software that you're probably not accustomed to. So I just want to show you a couple of things with it. If you ever have questions about it, by all means, let me know. I will say that there's a lot of good information out on the web about StatCrunch. So if you ever have trouble with something or you want it to do a specific task, if you just Google StatCrunch and then what you're trying to get it to do, it will more than likely you'll more than likely find a video pertaining to it. So if you want to just click StatCrunch when you're in your MyLabs Plus, so just click on it. I have another video that I'm going to send you later about how to access the data. It's actually going to be posted in your announcements. But for the purposes of this video, I just want to show you how to do a couple of things in StatCrunch. So you're going to be accessing both of these links at some point in the class. Right now I just want to pull up a data set so I can show you a couple of things that it can do. So I'm going to click in here, and you're actually going to end up using one of the data sets that are here. I'm just going to click on this first one, the body measurements. Oh, excuse me, I want to click on foot and height measurements. Okay, so you'll see that the data set is here. If you scroll down, you'll see that we have males and females, and then we have all these different variables. So we have the age, foot length, so on and so forth. So while you're in StatCrunch, if you ever needed to graph something, obviously you just go to the graph button. So if you click on graph, you'll see all of the different charts that you can use it to graph, and I'll click on that in just a second. If you ever want to do a statistical process, which you'll be doing a lot of those, just click on stat. There's a couple of different things here. So summary stats is probably going to be the first thing that you go to. And then we'll also use some of the other ones as well. We'll do proportion stats and regression and things like that. There's also the data button that you can click on to do certain things. We won't really be using this. Some of you will find ways on the web to use the data button to help you kind of sift through the data, but most of the time, or most people probably won't use the data button much. One thing I want to show you that many students may not know about, so I'm just going to graph a histogram, which you're going to see plenty of histograms. And one of the things that, for instance, we'll just graph a histogram with age, and then right now it's going to graph all of the ages, so it's not going to give any preference to males or females or anything else. So if I just hit compute, it's going to pick the bins in terms of how wide they are and where they start. So if I just hit compute, it's just going to give me the age and nothing else. So you'll notice that it broke it up. Move this over a little bit. It broke it up into ages between 10 and 20 as a bin or a group, and then from 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and so on and so forth. You can actually change that. So if you go to your options, you can change the bin width by going to edit. So for instance, if I want to change the width and I want it to go by 5s instead of going by 10s, I can do that. And you'll notice now that it does, the groups are done in groups of 5 instead of by 10. So it's not from 10 to 20 anymore, it's from 10 to 15 and 15 to 20 and so on and so forth. So there's one thing that you can do. You will be expected to kind of manipulate the bins to some degree to get a better picture, or what you see as a better picture. The last thing I want to show you right now is that you can also get StatCrunch to break the data up depending on other subgroups. So for instance, you may want the males and females separated. In the last picture I showed you, they were not separated. So let's go back to graph and then go back to histogram. And I'm still going to do age here as the column that I want it to graph, but now I'm going to group it. And you'll see I'm going to group it by sex because I want it to group it by the males and females. So now StatCrunch is going to take the males and graph their ages as a histogram, and take the females and graph their ages as a histogram. I'm not going to mess with the bins, but you can obviously adjust that. If you want to scroll down, there's some other options that you can deal with, but for the most part, you're going to be really looking at the bins. From here, I'll hit compute, and then you'll notice that it does it as two separate ones. So here's the males. Excuse me, these are the females. And then if you click the right arrow, it will give you the males. So it will break those up. And then obviously you can copy these, in which you'll be expected to do in terms of some of your assignments, the critical thinking critical thinking assignments, as well as your StatCrunch assignments. So you can copy. Now, some of them are going to say right click on the image, and then some of them will ask you to Control A and then Control C it. One other thing, after you've computed something or ran any kind of analysis in StatCrunch, it's automatically stored for you. So you'll notice that I ran 2 different histograms, one with just ages and then another one with the ages but separated by males and females. So if you go back to the StatCrunch button and go to Session Results, you'll see the 2 histograms that I've ran. You can get it to show all, or you can click on them individually. If you hit show all, you'll see both of them. So here's the one where it's grouped by males and females, and here's the one that has that does not group them by males and females. So that's something that you're going to kind of run into with some of your StatCrunch and critical thinking assignments. You're probably going to have a lot of questions on those in terms of how to run StatCrunch. That's one of the biggest issues that students run into is I don't really know how to work StatCrunch. So one thing I would suggest is to really get in there and just play around with it. You can't mess it up. Pull up one of these data sets and try to mess around with the graphs, manipulate them some, and kind of get accustomed to it. Your book does have some good walkthroughs of how to do certain things, but maybe it has some shortcomings on others. But again, if you ever run into anything that you don't know how to do, first I would just try to Google it. There's a lot of great videos out there. May not be specific exactly to what you needed to do, but it'll come close in terms of what buttons to click. And then by all means, let me know if you ever have questions. But other than that, guys, I hope this helps in terms of just kind of getting an introduction to StatCrunch. By all means, let me know if you have any questions.